Hello and welcome to the BME Horizon Hot Topics webinar, the weekly webinar brought to you by the Center for University Industry Cooperation of the Budapest University of Technology and Economics. I am Borbala Schenk, Chief European Research Funding Advisor, and my main task is to support researchers in their successful participation in the Horizon Europe Framework Program. Thank you for joining us today. Now I'm going to give you a very brief overview of what this webinar is and what today's topic is. And then I will give the floor to our guest and we will listen to her presentation for approximately like 15-20 minutes, and then we will have time for questions. The European research area is dynamically changing nowadays. We organized this webinar to help you, the researchers and the research managers, to get acquainted with this new concept, these new trends that define this changing European research ecosystem. With the growing importance of achieving impact beyond the academia, open science, responsible research and innovation, we are required and also challenged to think differently about research than we used to in the traditional ways. With this webinar, we would like to show you good practices, exciting perspectives, and help you to be able to confidently meet the requirements of Horizon Europe. Actually, our ambition goes beyond that, because we would like you to find the value, to find the benefit, or how these concepts contribute to high quality research and new exciting avenues of conducting research. Today's topic is open science. Let me give you just a very brief context on open science. Open science is more than open access. It means opening up the whole research process, sharing knowledge and data as early as possible, and collaborating openly with knowledge actors and stakeholders throughout the whole research process. Open science appears everywhere in Horizon Europe, from the ERC calls to the Pillar 2 collaborative projects, and includes different practices such as providing open access for research outputs, early and open sharing of research, open peer review practices, ensuring the reproducibility of the results, or open collaboration with the knowledge actors. So it's like a much broader concept than just open access. With this webinar, we would like to shed a unique perspective on open science, how a university can foster and stimulate open science practices. But we would like to hear your opinion as well, and we would like to have your comments and questions. We would like to spark a discussion on this topic. I'm going to show you now the Slido platform where you can interact with us. Let me share my screen. for a moment. Yeah, I'm just looking at my colleagues whether my screen sharing is okay. Okay, thank you. So if you are following us on the website, you see this embedded Slido with a fun poll here, and also this Q&A section. You can type your question in this text, in this like the section here. You can upvote others' questions, and at one point we are going to see what questions you have, and we are going to try to answer them. Okay, and just as a fun exercise, could you just please share with us which city you are visiting from? Okay, and I will just show you the results on the screen. So just please type in which city you are visiting from. We have a lot of visitors from Budapest and Debrecen also. If you are following us on YouTube, you see the Slido credentials at the description of the channel. Okay, so Budapest seems to win today. Okay, but we have audience from Cologne, from Debrecen, from Szeged, Pécs, Balassagyarmat. Okay, thank you very much. Whenever you feel like sharing which city you are visiting us from during the presentation, please feel free, and at the end we will have like a better picture of that. Thank you very much. I'm going to stop my screen sharing. Yeah. Okay, and let me introduce you today's topic and today's guest. Today's topic is open science from a university's perspective. Utrecht University launched an open science program as part of its ambition to make research more relevant to society. This open science program consists of 4 tracks: recognitions and rewards, public engagement, open access, and fair data and software. This program facilitates and also stimulates researchers to put open science in practice. We are going to learn how this process and results went in the university, and we will also get to know some information about building open science communities, as this was of high importance for you in advance. Let me introduce you our guest. Our guest is Judith de Haan. Judith de Haan joined the Open Science Program team of Utrecht University in 2019, and she's working there since 2020 as program manager. Together with the team, Judith is directing the integrated approach of the Open Science Program and connecting the policies and plans with the implementation in the university. Her background is in biomedical sciences, as she did her PhD at the Experimental Cardiology Department at the University Medical Center in Utrecht. And during her PhD, she already developed a particular interest in open science. After her PhD, she worked at a program at the University Medical Center in implementing a new way of working with a particular focus on the research department. And this experience is becoming very useful in her job at the Open Science Program. So thank you very much, Judith, for accepting our invitation. I'm going to mute myself now, and I would like to ask you to please share your slides and start your presentation.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the invitation and the introduction. I'm very happy that I can tell you something about the Open Science Program at Utrecht University. We are still in the middle. Oh, now I do it wrong. Let's share my screen correctly. So now you can see it.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah, great. So our Open Science core team consists of these people. I like to share this as well because it's not only me, but this is the core team. And later in my presentation, I'll show you a little bit more about the governance of our Open Science program, because we have a lot of people involved, and that's also part of the community building, which you were mentioning as well, which is very important for a movement like this. So here am I, but we also have Frank Miedema, who is our vice rector, and he is the chair of our program and a front runner in open science. He has been involved in science and transition movement already back from 2012. He recently published an open access book on open science, which might be nice to also share after this webinar with you. And we have these other 4 people in our team who are coordinating the program, but also involved in communication or management assistant tasks. So what I would like to discuss today is why did we start with an open science program at the University of Utrecht? The 4, actually now 5 different tracks of the open science program and how the organization of the program looks like. And then at the end, we will have time for questions and discussion. So the University of Utrecht decided to start with an open science program. In 2018, the program was written down, and together with the employees from the University of Utrecht, it was developed. And why did we want an open science program? It was to make sure that we were aligned with the changes that are happening in the research environment, as was mentioned before as well. A lot of change, and we are moving into an open science era, and a program can help to make researchers and employees from a university to be able to actually work in an open science way as well. So we started in 2018 by drafting the program. There was a community started in April 2018, so I'll come back to that later as well. That's our open science community. And in January 2019, we started with the open science program. And we were very happy that in 2020, the new strategy of the university was drafted. And that was all about being open. So our new payoff is open mind, open attitude, and open science to improve the world sustainably together. And now we're moving towards 2022. The program was drafted for 3 years, but we're not going to stop with the open science program. We're going to move into a new phase. So in 2022, we'll start with a new phase of the open science program. So this is what we're aiming for with our open science program. We want to have science for a better world. That is the goal. Open science per se is not the goal, it's a means to an end. So we want science for a better world where society and science is better integrated, which will lead to research with more impact into multidisciplinary and more inclusive teams in cooperation instead of competition. And of course, also the aspects of sharing open access, your output, sharing your data and your code. And to do this, you need new metrics or a new evaluation system actually to for your researchers within your university, but you also need good leaders, of course. So in Utrecht, we chose to go for these 4 tracks to actually make this possible. We have open access, which is known by most people. We have fair data and software, which can also be open data and software if in a lot of cases. We have public engagement and recognition and rewards, because to make this possible, we need to recognize and reward our researchers and academics in a different way. So I'll go a little bit in more detail in what we're doing within these 4 tracks. So we have the recognition and reward system that needs to be changed. So this is the vision that was formulated last year by our recognition and rewards track. So in the past, there was a focus primarily on research for individuals individual researchers, individual academics, I have to say. And the output that was mainly looked at was on the quantity. So how many papers did you publish? Where did you publish? Was it a high journal impact factor journal? What is your H index? How much funding did you receive? And within the University of Utrecht, we want to shift towards a more diverse palette of what academics are doing. So including education, but also leadership and professional performance. For example, patient care if you're working in an academic hospital. And science is teamwork. So we have to look at the whole team. So not every individual should be able to do all these different tasks, but as a team, you have to cover these different aspects of academia. And instead of focusing on quantity of the output, we want to look more at the quality of the output, on the openness of the output, and of the social relevance of what we're doing. So the triple model was formulated on this vision, which is actually the various aspects that I was mentioning. So we will want to look at teams instead of individuals. We have research, of course. We have education and leadership and professional performance, and impact is generated in these different domains. So the team aspects and the leadership are forming the base of this flower, and you see the 3 different domains where you can generate impact as an academic. So this model now is implemented at the University of Utrecht. So for the track Fair Data and Software, we have various things where we're focusing on. We are working on making software more sustainable, making it visible, making it fair. And for that, you need a good infrastructure and support. In line with recognition and awards, we also want recognition for the career tracks based on data specialists, for example, or software engineers. And one of the things that this track has been doing is, for example, having an awesome UU on the GitHub. So if you're interested, you can find this on our GitHub. Then public engagement is one of the tracks that focus on the interaction with society and stakeholders. And we want to have this more connected to each other. So science and society should be more interacted, and you can do that in various ways. So you have the science communication that we want to improve. We want to involve citizens more in the research where possible, where this can be beneficial. So the citizen science board, stakeholders should be engaged in the process of research as early as possible and as early as it will be beneficial, and co-creation can exist. So instead of having this all separate actions, we want to create this as a more universal approach of how you can create knowledge and action with the university. The open access track was already something that was going on for a long time within the library. So this is not something that is new, but is followed up in the open science program as well. They are stimulating full open access of all research output from the University of Utrecht, including books. But what is also important is that this also costs a lot of money to publish everything open access. So we are also monitoring the costs of open access and thinking a little bit beyond that. Okay, what are we going for after the APCs? Are we moving to more diamond publications? What can you do as an individual researcher to lower the costs? Can you negotiate, for example, with a journal to lower the APCs and stuff like that? So this is what the open access track is focusing on. And then recently we started a new track. So our 5th track is education, because we realized that if we want to have this movement ongoing, we also need to educate the new researchers and the new academics. So we want open science to be an integral part of the education at the University of Utrecht. That means that you can start already in the bachelor phase or master phase or PhD phase. We are focusing now on the master and PhD phase, and trying to include open science there as well. And what we are thinking of, what we want to include in education is the open science mindset. Why do we want open science? What does it mean to be an open academic? Why do you research? Why do you do research in the first place for a better society? So that is one part of the open science and education track. Then the second part is the skill set. For various open science activities, you need specific skills. For example, version control or sharing your data or making your data fair. But also, if you're going to interact with the public, what kind of language do you need, or how are you going to communicate? And of course, recognition and awards is also important for this track, because if we want to make education more important, people should be recognized and awarded for this as well. And then lastly, we have open educational resources. So sharing also from your educational material openly with other people. So now a little bit about the governance of our program. So we have those 4 tracks, but we also have an open science platform, which consists of these people, and there are people from different faculties from our university, and they are kind of our go-to platform to discuss what we are moving forward to, and they give input whether to go this direction or that direction. So we have this platform. Then the community I've mentioned before started in 2018. It's a bottom-up initiative from researchers. They started this themselves, and it's a community. It's open for everyone from University of Utrecht. They can just sign up, and they organize peer-to-peer workshops or seminars or symposia where they can share good practices, but also practices that did not go that well. And they are very important for the movement, because they're usually consist of young, energetic researchers who really drive this movement as well. So we have the combination of the program together with this community. So to hopefully make it a little bit clearer, I drafted this picture. So I've talked about these 4 tracks. These tracks have track leaders, but they also have members from all different faculties. And we call them fellows. So we have open access fellows from all faculties from the Utrecht University. We have fair data and software fellows, recognition and award fellows, etc. Then we have our platform, which thinks along with us on the way to go forward to. They also consist of members from each faculty. Then we have our open science community, which consists of the members. So that can be anyone who wants to join this movement, but they also appointed faculty ambassadors. So in each faculty, you have one open science community ambassador that will be the talking to person for in that faculty. And they also organize these symposia per faculty. So we have a lot of people from each faculty that all work on open science. And last year we thought, okay, we have to bring those people together within the faculty as well. So then faculty open science team were created. So in each faculty we have an open science team that consists of these different fellows. So the open science, for the open access fellow, the fair data fellow, etc. The ambassador of the open science community, the member of the platform, and we were very happy with that. The dean of that faculty is chairing this faculty open science team. So everything that is like the plans that were made within these 4 different tracks, they will be discussed within this faculty open science team, and they will decide what is the way forward within their faculty, because you have faculty specific issues, of course. Within humanities, you have different issues with open access because they're mainly writing books. And within the science faculty, they have other issues because they are used to publish in high journal impact factor journals, for example. So we're very happy that we have these teams now that will move forward this the things that were thought of in the open science program. So to conclude, we are very happy that we're moving forward to our open mind, open attitude, and open science to improve the world sustainably together. If you're interested, there's a lot of more information found on our website, or you can email us or sign up to our newsletter, because that's also open to everyone. And I put some other hopefully interesting links in here, and we'll share that hopefully after this.
Thank you very much, Judith. That was very, very interesting and very impressive. So you do have a lot of layers in the organization dealing with open science that actually shows that open science is a strategic priority of Utrecht University. Let me just share my screen with the questions, okay? Because we have received quite a lot. And just a moment. Yeah. Okay. Just a moment. Yeah. There we are. Okay. I just would like to have a note from my colleagues that you see the slide on screen. Okay, great. Okay, so the first one is the researchers need to publish. There are two general options: fully open access publishers, low quality and subscription, higher impact, no open access. What is your preference? A very easy question, I might say, as a start.
Yeah, I'm triggered by this question because it says fully open access publishers, and then within brackets, low quality. I would argue that that is not that's actually already an interesting discussion point, because is it that fully open access publishers have low quality, or actually, and also the other way around? Do you the closed publishers, do they have higher quality? So my preferences would definitely be fully open access, of course, but I'm curious whether this person who asked this question actually truly believes that fully open access is of low quality.
Yeah, just if you have any comments, I'm just now turning to the audience member who posed this question. Just please feel free to elaborate on it. And also, I would like to add at this point that next week we are going to have an interesting talk with Kelly Woods, who is in the editorial team of Open Research Europe, the fully open access publishing platform of the European Commission. So these are also questions we can discuss then as well. Thank you for this question. Please feel free to elaborate on it.
Maybe I can add one thing, because I can imagine as sometimes as an individual researcher you have to make choices, right? Because you can't do everything fully open science in an open science way, because you also have the environment where you're working in, and you have to also listen to your supervisor, for example, if you're a PhD student. So if you are not in the luxury position just to choose whatever you want to do, then there are also other sometimes solutions for this problem. So if you are publishing in a journal which is not open access, you have the green route also available to make your publication open access available in the end. So usually after half of a year after publication, you can put your publication in a repository, which makes it open access available in the end anyways. So that will be a solution if you don't have the luxury kind of to fully open access publish.
Yeah, thank you very much. How do you motivate researchers to engage with stakeholders? Does it have a tradition, or is it a new method for many researchers? And you have to just, I guess, give a little push in the beginning.
Yeah, so it's not something new. So there are people who are already, or research groups who are already involving stakeholders in their research. It depends a little bit on the field where this has been done already more often than in other fields. But it's not at the University of Utrecht. It's not something that is structurally embedded within doing research, and also not the way that researchers or that we think now of doing research. It's not that we think of, okay, which are the stakeholders that I might be able to contact or should involve in my research. So there's actually now a specific team within public engagement who is focusing on stakeholder engagement. So how do we do this at the university? How should we stimulate this? Why would people do it? And in which cases is it beneficial, and should you move forward? In which case, some cases it's less beneficial. So this is still ongoing process.
Yeah, and do you have this kind of a connection between this public engagement activities in the university and the open science units? So do you actually interact or cooperate?
Yes, so we have, of course, the track, which is a public engagement within our open science program, but this is broader than only open science. So the track leaders of our public engagement track are also the program leaders of the public engagement program within the university. So it's really intertwined. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, we have received the reflection on the answer to the first question. Let's name the fully open access. Yeah, MTPI and Frontiers versus Esri and Springer. I see the gap since I reviewed numerous papers for both. So that is just a reflection. I was wondering whether you might want to comment on that.
Yes. So that's a personal experience with the quality of different journals. I would always try to emphasize that, look at the quality. So that I think that should be your first step of how where to decide where you want to publish your research, and then open access as a second question. So don't go open access and then have something that is of low quality that doesn't make sense, because the goal in the end is to have better research with more impact for society, but also for the scientific community. However, I still think that there is options that you have high quality. I think there are a lot of options actually of high quality and open access. So if you make it a little bit broader, then it should be both possible.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I see two questions that are kind of intertwined. One is that, I'm just reading it out. Before quantity, H-index impact factor received funding. After quality, I guess the research performance assessment. Today, quality of research is measured by impact factor and funding. Why and how would it change? And the other question that is kind of related to that is that, very interesting concept of diversified research performance assessment. How can you measure these aspects like team and leadership?
Yes. So first, the first question. So it's actually, I think, about how, in what way do you quantify, kind of, in a way, quality, which someone was saying, indeed, now the journal impact factor is used and the amount of funding. However, this does not correlate well with quality. So the journal impact factor is a measure of a journal, and it says something about the citations, or like the mean citations of that journal within the last 2 years. It doesn't say anything about the quality of an individual researcher or what an individual researcher has done. The same for funding. There's not enough funding, so it's like a competition for getting funding. So it doesn't mean that if you didn't get any funding that your research per se is not good, or that you are not a good quality researcher or academic. So we have to broaden this. So how do you define quality without these measures that are suboptimal, I would say. Let me see. Then there was the second question on.
It was about diversified research performance assessment. You mentioned that team and leadership aspects are somehow built in the performance assessment, if we got it right.
Yes.
So how do you measure this? I mean, this is very, very interesting and very encouraging, actually.
Yes.
To see good examples in this field.
Yes. So how we are approaching this now is that we don't want one measure for saying that someone is doing good or bad. It has to be a broader scale of different things. So it can be quantitative measures such as like, to combine it with openness, also the percentage of openness that you published, or what kind of education you've given. So and what score was that student gave for your education, for example. But besides that, you want to have more a narrative approach as well, to explain and giving the arguments on whether what you have done within your research or within your education actually had impact, which you can describe and you can explain. And usually it's different than what we're used to. But if you have like the coffee machine talk, you usually can explain pretty well why your research was important, or what you did, or why it actually matters. So I'm moving towards a more approach like that. And to incorporate team in that is that you can ask a question as well, like, what did you do for the team? Or actually, who in your team was most valuable for what you have been doing? So look like the other way around, right? Like asking people to reflect on the valuable things that other team members did for them. The same goes for leadership, I would say. So it's more a more broader and also more diverse approach of recognizing and rewarding teams and individuals within the team.
Thank you very much. The next question is, do Utrecht University pay for the open access add-on for their researchers' papers? Nature and Neuroscience require $9,000 for open access additionally to the $5,000 publishing fee.
Yes.
Another very, very, very painful question, I might say.
Yeah, I agree. So indeed, you see these APCs rising, and especially with the traditional high impact journals, they ask a lot of money for open access. At Utrecht University, there are deals, open access deals as well. So the library, I also saw a question of the involvement of the library. They are very involved. They make deals with certain publishers also to have like packages for open access publishing. And we have an open access fund. So people who want to publish open access and they fulfill the requirements, they can apply for the open access fund to get a little bit of the APCs back. I think it's up to €1,000. But they also made one of the requirements that the APCs can't be too high, because we don't want to move to a system where everything will be more and more expensive. So APCs of 9,000 are not eligible for this open access funds.
Thank you very much. A very interesting comment. It's interesting, but it's also an enormous work to establish something like this program. Do you think the cost-benefit ratio is worth it?
Well, yeah, of course, I think that it's worth it because I work at the Open Science program, and I truly believe that this investment that we are making right now at the beginning, in the end, will give us a lot of benefits, especially. So sometimes it's the benefits like that you can't really measure like money-wise. But it's more the social impact that we are gaining as well. So yes, it costs a lot of money, but it also gives a lot of impact back. And what we are seeing now is that we are not only changing as a University of Utrecht within this open science movement, but it's also happening in Europe. It's happening all around the world. And also funders are acting on this movement. So they are requiring more interaction with stakeholders. They are requiring open access, or they're requiring sharing your data, stuff like that. So because we are already in this process, it also gives researchers a better chance of getting funding from these funders. So it also benefits on that side.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned in the beginning of your presentation that this also gets you ahead of the curve. So it makes your researchers more competitive in like applying for EU funds. I would like to reserve the right for the last question as the organizer. And my last question is, what advice would you give us as beginners here if we want to increase our competence in open science as an institution, if we want to proceed towards this kind of mindset you just described? How should we get started?
Yeah, so I would say start small. So I've presented, I think, a big program, but we didn't start with a big program like this, so it evolved slowly. I think by gathering a group of very enthusiastic and already open science-minded people around you, and just start small and creating this enthusiasm and slowly like inspiring more people, that will help. And an open science community can really help with that as well. So I sent you also the start this toolkit where you can just start your open science community yourself, and you can be connected also to other open science communities, the one of Utrecht, but there are many more that will definitely inspire others to do small steps at a time. You can't be open science in a day, but if you can do one thing and everyone does one thing, then slowly we'll get there.
Thank you very much, Judith. We are going to share your presentation on the webpage. I'm just showing to you. This is horizon.bme.hu/webinars. And also on this webpage, we have the starter kit section. And in the starter kit section, we have a dedicated open science subsection, also featuring the materials from Utrecht University, including a toolbox of how to build and start open science communities. Thank you very much again. I would like to show you the next two topics we are going to tackle. One is how are publishers adapting to an open research landscape, and afterwards we are going to dive into citizen science. Thank you very much, Judith, again, and I hope we can continue this discussion later. And thank you very much for all of you in the audience. See you next week. Goodbye.